And I wonder where A, what is the power, the potency of, say, imagination as a phenomenon within the human psyche, number one. And number two, how does it dovetail or relate or integrate into yogic practice? Right. And like where's the meeting of these two worlds? Because let me just sort of set up the anti-imagination stage here first, because I know in my own upbringing that there came a moment when I was asked to become an adult and to set aside all that imaginary funny business, you know, like that stuff's for kids. And when you become, a real bona fide citizen, and maybe you're even getting health insurance, or like the cost of admission for health insurance is you need to give up your imagination, some sort of social contract that goes something like that, right? To make our way in the world, that this imagine is relegated to the fictitious. That's our so some of the messaging that I remember growing and living into. And it's forces like music and forces like storytelling and forces like mythology. And if I look closely at yoga kriyas in and of themselves, there's an imaginative, and I'm not talking fiction or nonfiction, and we'll sort of define our terms here in a moment. But if you look at yogic kriyas, that's like a meditative procedure inside. There's a, say, imaginative component to them as well. And so by imagine, I don't mean like immediately like fictitious or unreal. I mean that capacity of our mind to invoke and prescribe meaning to any particular experience, whether that be an experience that comes to us directly from the external world or an experience that is conjured within. You can have just as sort of vivid and visceral and felt sense of like legitimacy or accuracy in either of those two experiences. So there's something to the imaginative space, and I'm going to stretch imagination a little bit further here in a moment. Something to the imaginative space that is vital to this process of constructing meaning. And what is or felt experience, which in my estimation is the very currency of the life experience itself, is this kind of sort of prescribed assumptions that come up, and we might call that meaning. Like the body of our beliefs is a form of meaning about self, meaning about the external world, meaning about spiritual realization, etc. Right? Imagination plays a vital role in that whole construct, So one way that in the Samkhya system, they assess or determine if an experience is legitimate or, let's say, real, I think is the terms they use. How do we know if an experience is real or not? Right. And it's a different line than, say, like a strict material interpretation of what reality is. And they say if an experience has an effect, it's real. If an experience has an effect, it's real. So if you have a potent dream, for example, and there's like whether that's benevolent or terrifying, right? People have nightmares, bolt upright, aghast, cold sweat, like all these physiological reactions that are occurring. And according to the Samkhya standard, that was a real experience because it had a genuine effect. Or you might have like a benevolent dream, like I remember a few from like my teenage years, falling in love, and I'm like, wow, that's the most amazing. Like I can go back there sometimes. And it was like an enchanted thing for like 2 days. I just go back to that dream, be in my whole happy place. And again, by this metric, there's a legitimacy there. And this is the final point I want to make on sort of the imaginative dimension of our mind, our mind space. And here we can lean a little bit into yogic terminology. And the term here is manas, which I think plays a vital role in this whole imaginary construct. There's other components that are also important, but today is like the poster child term of the evening is manas. And one of manas's primary functions is to assemble sense experience. So sight, taste, touch, smell. Yeah, the image of me up here and your assembling of the words that I'm speaking and extracting meaning from those words is the function of manas. Now here's what a fantastic part of the manas equation. It does all that in such a way as to give us the impression that all of that occurs externally. You might even say, like, right now, like, what is he even talking about? Of course it's happening out. No, 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 no. The assembling of sense impression actually is an internal phenomenon. And there is I don't know any other word other than my magical sleight of hand that has all of that vividly occur, vividly and realistically, good choice of words, occur as though the dead set impression, as though it were happening out here. And that's sort of the twinkle in the magician's eye kind of curiosity I have about this imaginative space. Like to me, there is so much mystery in how we create meaning, right? And how it feels so dense and so real. Even the notion that there's an in here and an out there is a total construct, imaginative construct, right? And here's the sort of brief lean into yoga is that the yogic methodologies, whatever that power is, the power of manas, we're just calling it that for now, is that it's a malleable substance. It could like clay, like it could be molded into a variety of different forms, and yogic techniques have figured out ways to optimize or to optimize the power of manas towards things like harmony, towards things like peace, towards things like self-understanding, towards things like realization, right? And if any of those things are of interest to you, then, yoga could be for you. Yoga could be for you. Yeah, if you're curious about things like self-understanding, or what is this place, or how did I even get here, or how do I live without, friction and tension, animosity, to live more gracefully with this finite time that we've been given.